It's John and Rachel. Welcome back to YaJagoff Late Night, back at Papa J's. If you have not been here for your holiday party, no worries. Just come eat. Right. Just enjoy the happy hour from 12 to 5. Who in the heck does that? And they actually do a drink. $12, it's whatever you want. We're not over that yet.
Bartender's choice or whatever.
Bartender's choice.
I love it.
Speaking of choices, we have had the choice of having Boaz Frankel on for, I think we've asked 3 or 4 times, and he very politely has said, I cannot because you guys podcast on every day that I work, because you're constantly working. We finally got you on one day off, and we are so happy to finally welcome you. Thank you for joining us.
Well, I'm so happy to finally be here. I felt so left out. All my colleagues and coworkers were on the show, and now finally I'm here.
So your colleagues at KDKA TV, we know you're from there, and over at Next Pittsburgh, but Boaz, what brought you to Pittsburgh? And,
great question.
Just talk about that for a minute.
Well, honestly, I'm being joined
I was just going to say.
Here we go, yes.
So fun, yeah.
Boaz Jr.
Oh, my God.
So what brought I was really into this mic. So honestly, we came to Pittsburgh so randomly. I don't know if you're going to hear little fingers on the mic or not, but okay. We were living in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. My wife and I, we'd moved there for Brooke's job, and we sort of needed to move back to the U.S. for work, and we were like, well, let's just try a new city, and we'd been hearing good things about Pittsburgh, and we visited, and we were like, oh, this is really cool. And it's funny, when I came to visit, I reached out to a couple people, and I got coffee with Rick Seaback, who was so kind.
Right.
And then I grabbed coffee with David Highfield, who ended up being my colleague years later. This was a year before we moved. And I was like, everyone's so nice. There's cool media here. This place is great. I remember everyone was so friendly. I remember one time we were walking through East Liberty, and we're looking for Trader Joe's because we were that was one thing we missed when we lived in Europe.
Sure.
Yeah, Aviv agrees. And there was a man running by, panting heavily as though he was in the middle of a marathon. He's like, you look like you're lost. Can I help you find something? And he pointed us to Trader Joe's. We were just so shocked how nice everyone was. We were like, let's move to Pittsburgh.
And did we disappoint, or did it stay that way?
Everyone's still super nice. We love it.
And how long have you been here now?
Almost 7 years.
Wow, that went so quickly.
Yeah.
7 makes a Yinzer card.
It definitely does.
think so.
Is it home at this point for you guys, or is that still?
We own a house here, but I don't know. We might be movers. There might be some other cities, but we're always going to have a leg in Pittsburgh. He dropped his pizza. He's devastated because
the reason that I ask is, welcome, Brooke.
Bring in the stunt parent.
Yeah.
The reason that I ask is because you, in a very short time, have really made your mark in Pittsburgh, whereas Pittsburgh has really embraced you in the way that you are so exploratory. Is that a fair word? Because were you always curious, Nebby, wanting to kind of look behind everything? Was that always your nature?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I always, and looking, it's why is that building condemned? What's behind that fence? I wonder what their garden looks like. It's
sure.
What kind of dog is that? So I feel I always am just curious about the different things I see, and it feels like I found these places here in town with Yinzer Backstage Pass on Next Pittsburgh and the stories I do on PTL and Talk that sort of let me answer those questions. And now I I'm not asking for a random reason. I'm like, you'll be on TV if you tell me. So, I sort of can get in there, and they'll bring me to the top of the U.S. Steel Tower. They'll show me what's in the basement, or they'll invite me into their private garden.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing what people will do? In Pittsburgh, people love to show off their stuff.
Yeah.
They're proud of their stuff.
Absolutely.
It's so interesting. Now, as a kid, were you this kind of very inquisitive, or did you grow into this, just kind of
Where
curious?
did this come from? Yeah.
I've always had obscure interest in being really, deep into things. I remember being really into the Muppets, and so I wrote letters until I met Cheryl Henson, Jim Henson's daughter, and then got to go visit the workshop in New York on a trip. I convinced my dad to take me. So I was always really interested and sort of obsessed with things and wanting to sort of dig a little deeper.
And speaking of obsessions, I'll jump right to it. You created a polka of uniqueness. And so you're obsessed with mascots. Here's where it's funny. I think that you are so clever, and I love your interviewing. I hate mascots.
Oh.
It's the one thing we're not on the same page. What did you say?
A lot of people do. A lot of people get uncomfortable with a human in a fuzzy suit.
I don't know if it's even that. Maybe that's
you just don't know who you're interacting with.
Sure,
you don't know who's in there. It's maybe it's your enemy from third grade is in there, and they're going to play a trick on you. I don't know.
Yes. And so what?
Great take on it.
What makes you like them so much? What's that?
Well, I think honestly, I've always loved the Muppets, and I think it's something there. There's this big, fun, lovable character. I played a mascot a couple times when I was in high school.
Okay.
And I loved sort of the anonymity, and you sort of feel a little looser in there. You dance a little freer. You're ready to hug and high five and do silly things, and there's something magical about that. And I think a person who's really good at it is they can, the pirate parrot, the guy inside there, with a little look and a gesture, he can really communicate so much.
Yes.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Without a voice, Now, do you know this little tidbit? Greg Brown. You know Greg Brown, the Pirates broadcaster?
Oh, yeah.
He did not get hired. He wanted to be the pirate parrot, and
What?
it did not get hired. They kicked him out.
That's
and
crazy.
Then, he always wanted to be
Brown.
involved in the Pirates, and here he is as the Pirates broadcaster.
Wow.
So he didn't get that entry-level job, but sure enough, he became the Pirates broadcaster. So
Gosh.
I think
When
it would be
you
interesting.
Missed out on the pretty big opportunity there, I'd say.
I think that's the challenge, is to get him into the pirate parrot costume now and see what he could do and give him the challenge.
I also understand that another thing we have in common, but I know that you're much better at, is planting. You're a great plant parent.
Yeah.
What is that like, and where did that start?
Well, I'd always loved plants, and until, we bought a house in Pittsburgh, I'd only lived in an apartment, so I just had a lot of house plants. But when we moved here, I did the Master Gardener program at Phipps, and that sort of blew my mind.
Okay, and that was just on a whim, wanting to kind of try it, or you were...
Yeah, but I'd always been interested, and we moved to Pittsburgh, and I was like, this will be a cool way to meet other people who like plants, and then I just got in deep, and now I volunteer there every week, and I start leading these after-hour tours there, which I do about every other month or so, and I just, our house was all lawn when we moved in, and now there's pretty much one 6 foot by 4 foot section of lawn, and everything else is like native plants and shrubs and trees and all sorts of stuff, and it's like this wildlife wonderland.
That leads to a question that we did, question of the day on one of our podcasts in the summer, is do you plant for food or plant for pleasure? So do you have both?
That's a good question.
I have both. Yeah, absolutely. So I have, in the back, there's a ton of flowers, and it's sort of like this cottage garden, but I also have a veggie garden. So, there's a lot of flowers and color, and even the structure now, the snow's covering it, and it's really beautiful. But then I also have tomatoes and potatoes and all sorts of herbs and peppers and, cucumbers and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Did you find something to be difficult to grow, or something that you love to grow? Either way.
I feels like it's always a collaboration with the weather and the soil and what, the chipmunk who's hanging out back there. So you never know. So it's like some years I'll have like 1 million cucumbers, and some years I'll have 0 cucumbers.
Sure.
So, every year there's some things that don't thrive, and every year some things surprise you.
Speaking of things growing, talk about your special guest here.
Yeah, well, Aviv is almost a year and a half. He's like, and he really wants to talk. I feels like he could be on the podcast and he'd be ready to fill the space with sounds, but none of them would be actual words yet.
Right.
But he's ready to point and try to relate to people, and it feels like he's on the brink of talking, and obviously running around a lot and loving the pizza here.
And isn't that the best role ever? No matter what you've done, is being a parent, right? It is such a gratifying and amazing thing to watch another human.
It is. Yeah, nights he sleeps, it really feels good.
And we talked about that the other days. Yeah, my kids never slept. All right, so Boaz, we have to tell everybody where to find you and all those kind of things.
I brought something for the junk drawer. Is it too late?
No, we're going to do that. But before we could do any of that stuff, you have to answer our question of the day.
Deal.
So our Rorik Honda question of the day is very easy today. What band will you no doubt at any cost go see live?
Well, here's what I'd like to see: the Electric Mayhem, which is the Muppet Band.
Okay.
They've only done like 1 or 2 shows ever. And it's obviously
Animal on drums.
Yeah, Animal on drums. Yes. Exactly. Dr. Teeth, Floyd, Zoot, the whole gang.
Yeah.
Of course, you know all of that.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
That.
That's a good answer. Okay. And then we need to know, what is the junk drawer item that you have given us?
I couldn't decide.
This is going to be good because you have such a...
Obviously, I brought a kazoo from the Kazoo Museum.
Of course you did, yes.
Right. And from one of my last ventures, I was looking through random stuff I had. I used to have a talk show built into a bicycle, the pedal-powered talk show.
Okay.
And would ride it all around. This is when I lived in Portland, Oregon. And so I found I still had these pedal-powered talk show little pins, and I brought one for each.
It is so kind of you that you brought one for each of us, because we get a little bit funny.
I find one
oh,
of these.
Boy. John's not getting the kazoo. Boaz, you are just truly a gem, and our city is so lucky to have you. Thank you so much. Where can everybody find you and follow you?
Oh, gosh. Just Google me. I don't know. Do whatever. Just watch us on KDKA. Watch on Next Pittsburgh.
Right?
Yeah, BOAZ. And I'll tell you one thing. This brings it all together. I'm hosting Muppet Trivia before a screening of Muppet Christmas Carol at Row House in Hollywood. I think it's December 18th.
That is so clever. I love that. Okay.
I think
so
we're
you
all
guys
there.
need
Everybody's
to be there.
nodding over by the window.
And there's some nods.
It's sort of a random thing that just got confirmed.
That is such a cool thing. Yeah, you need to pass it along. Boaz, thank you so much. It is John and Rachel, YaJagoff Late Night.